Hi there. Good evening. It is Tuesday evening once again. I've logged on just a couple of minutes early tonight, just so that I can get well established for the 8 p.m. deadline. So I won't wait for everybody to join me. I will start talking and I will ask you as you drop on, or I'll just say for those who are watching on replay that I have had a fantastic weekend with my husband. Don't know what you guys have been doing. Hi, Rachel. Hope you're all right. I don't know what you guys have been doing this weekend, but I have been walking miles around Edinburgh, and I think I would just like to shout out to my husband, Gary, who is a transplant patient and still managed to walk miles around Edinburgh this weekend with very little faltering. He is an amazing man and a complete enigma. And it has been great to just get some grown-up time this weekend and reconnect a bit, because it's been a busy old year this year with everything going on for the business. I also met up with an absolutely hi. That's a hi from Rachel. Love it when people drop on and say hi. I met up with a wonderful lady who is really, really close to my heart and really special, who's going through the toughest time at the moment. So I would like to say hello to Laura and all of her family, her mum and dad and her sister, who, are so lucky to have Laura in their lives. She's an amazing person. And although the story is very sad, I don't want to go there tonight because I've shed enough tears this weekend, but it was wonderful to meet mum and dad, and it was wonderful to see Laura. Anyway, so I've kind of been just hanging around Edinburgh, going to the museum, spending money as usual, because I'm good at that. I like doing that. Eating way too much food. And now I'm very, very strictly back on my healthy eating program and off to the gym in the morning. So I hope that all of your weekends have been equally as good. We were really lucky to have a reasonable weather in Edinburgh, which is unusual for Scotland. It was very windy, and wind is no good for my really fine hair. I can tell you, I look like a scarecrow all weekend. But it's a look that I got used to over the weekend. So everybody else is out. Dan's upstairs having walked the dog and dried the pots. Gary's doing his nebulizer and then going in the bath. The dog is in the room with me. So if he falls asleep and starts having one of those dreams where he chases rabbits, then it's definitely not me, it's him. That's all I'm going to say about that. So yeah, hi, it's now clocked past 8 o'clock. So I am Mandy, for those of you that haven't watched before that may be dropping on. And I am a artist, a coach, and an author. And I am a coach to women. And I coach women who lack the confidence to make a high impact, who maybe want to make changes in their life or business. And I do that by using a fusion, a combination of different, hi Sarah, and hi Eleanor, nice to see you, a combination of lots of different styles of coaching, all mushed together with 25 years of experience, hi Ange, and loads of mistakes. And I help women to be able to think creatively and come up with creative solutions that can give them the most abundant and amazing life. I do it because I love it. I talk about it because I know it, and I've lived it. Hi sis, hi Sarah. Your message is a little bit lag. We've got a little bit of lag going on there, but I won't keep popping in and on and saying hi to everybody. But that doesn't mean I don't love you all, and hi to everybody that joins. So tonight I am going to talk to you, and I'm going to refer to my notes here because my brain is not as good as it used to be. Well, it is. It's pretty brilliant, my brain, but I do forget what I'm talking about right now. So tonight is episode 5 of my 12-week countdown to the launch of my new website and my book. Now, the book is written and going off in the next 10 days to the publisher so that it can launch at the same time as my new website. And the website will contain lots of exciting things, but the most important thing will be my signature program, the Glowing Aura Mindset Makeover Program. And that is a program that is a lifelong learning program, but specifically at the moment, I have written 12 months of work that will take you from wherever you are now into a phase of creative thinking that you never even knew was possible, using creativity as well as creative thought. Now, that's different for everybody. It's very sensory, and I do acknowledge that throughout the program and use different methods and different sensory methods. So I just want to check after last week, can you give me a thumbs up, somebody, or a love heart or something to say that you can hear me okay after last week? Okay, I'm assuming you can, because I've said hi and people have said hi back. So this is week 5 of my 12-week countdown to the launch of my website. On the website, you'll be able to buy prints of my art as well, and my book. That's great. People can hear me. That's fantastic. But most importantly, the Glowing Aura Mindset Makeover program. That's going to be the big thing. So what I wanted to do in these 12 weeks was share my learnings from my rock bottom, and that was 10 years ago. It's an anniversary year this year from where I ended up in my rock bottom. And my rock bottom was losing everything that I knew to be normal. So my highly paid job, my nice house, nice car, and all the nice things I was used to ending up living in my little house, my castle by the sea, my council house in Amble, with my little Suzuki Swift car, with very little money in the bank, I can say, and nothing other than my brain and a plan. And I wanted to share some of the steps I've taken over the last 10 years to go from that place to where I am now. And it's not been easy. And I have had restrictions. I've got 2 children, one of whom is disabled. So I probably could have done it a hell of a lot quicker had I not had the children. But you know what? We go at the pace that life allows us to go at, and there's nothing wrong with that. You can still turn things around. So I'm sharing my learnings, my lessons, my top tips, the things that I failed on over the last 10 years and the things that I've been successful with over the last 10 years. So that it starts to get you thinking creatively about what you can do to take you from wherever it is you are. And you don't need to be at your rock bottom. You can be any place where you are now and want to move forward to something better. You don't have to be at rock bottom. I was. So I'm just sharing those learnings. So this is episode 5, how to live within your means. Okay, that sounds very simple and very straightforward, doesn't it? How to live within your means. And I taglined it, keep your costs low and your income high. Living small to plan big. Because living within your means, if it was that easy to do, everybody would do it. There would be no debt. People would learn to just wait until they had enough money to buy things. And that is not the case for a huge majority of people in the UK. And that starts with a real understanding of how to do this. And the first thing I'm going to say is they do not teach this in school. We are sent out into the world from school with absolutely no knowledge of how to really live within our means. We are reliant on our parents, having learned that before they become parents, to be able to transfer that on to us. And if that doesn't happen, then we are reliant on whom? How's that? It's called the government ripping us off. I've just got a message there from somebody. I'm going to keep going. So, how to live within your means. Not something we are taught. And I think perhaps we want to look at changing some of the curriculum to include things like, this is a pension, yeah, this is a loan and this is how much it's going to cost you, this is a savings plan, this is an asset, and this is a liability. And that is exactly where I want to start tonight in terms of living within your means. Now, let's be clear on this, on my top tips. If you're going to live within your means, you need to have a plan. You first of all need to know exactly where you are. And it sounds so obvious, doesn't it? You need to know exactly where you are. But how many people out there know exactly where they are at any point in time? Now, bearing in mind, I'd just been stripped of everything. I had nothing. So all I had was my basic bank account, no loans, no debts, no nothing, no mortgage, because I couldn't get one, couldn't get any credit for 6 years. And it was actually one of the best lessons I ever had in my life. Bearing in mind, I am 54 now, so I was 44 then, and I had lived on credit, and have bank loans and credit cards, and because no one taught me how to live within my means. I didn't just know this. It wasn't something that came easy. I had a huge salary, but you still borrow and you live to excess and you do things that you want to do because we're very materialistic as a society. So this isn't just a financial planning. So don't get caught up that this is just about financial planning on this half hour tonight. This is about far more than that. But first of all, you've got to have a start point, and you've got to have a start point with anything. And whether that start point is with you, your mental health, with you, how you live your life, with you and your finances, whatever it is, you've got to first of all know exactly where you are. That means knowing exactly where you are financially, knowing exactly where you are with yourself, knowing exactly how you feel and what you want. So you've got to start with a plan. That's point one. You've got to start with a plan. So now there are loads of tools out there and banks that will help you, and financial advisors that will help you put a living expenses budget together. Okay, but I don't think they drill you hard enough, because when you really, really drill down and start to think about all the things that you have expenses for on a daily and a weekly, on a monthly and on an annual basis, there are lots of things admitted in that financial plan. So for instance, if you're looking at, just the basics of your living expenses, you've got mortgage or rent, you've got insurances, you've got your living costs such as utilities, phone, broadband that we all have to have these days, phone contracts, etc., food, clothes, car, kids allowances, leisure activities, holidays, car maintenance, running costs. There's a million things in there that some people just don't know where to start, and having a look at that. And this is one of the things that really, when it comes down to living within your means, you've got to know, you've got to become, first of all, an expert in your life and how it is you are going to live it. And then, secondly, how you are going to fund it. Because if your income does not exceed your expenditure, you are in trouble and you're going to be living in debt. End of story. This might sound like granny sucking eggs, but bear with me, because it is really important, the message I want to get across here. Because although I'm talking about how to live with your means, I'm going to cover some other areas as well. But first of all, this financial, because it's the biggest driving force for all of us. It drives everything that we do, how much money we make, how much money we spend, what we buy with it, how we behave towards money is the biggest driving force for each and every individual. And there is such diversity. There is so much lack in this country and in every country. And there is so much abundance in this country and every country. And the differences and inequalities that we have in our society are enormous. And the variance is such a big sliding scale. And the people at the bottom end don't know how to make it better necessarily. And they don't know how to get the advice, and they don't know where to go. So, for me, the very, very basics is really becoming an expert in what you need and how to live within your means. So there's a couple of things I want to cover there if you're looking at financial, because obviously, you've got all those expenses on a monthly basis, and then you've got your income, and then you've got to look at it in a separate way. So you've got all the expenses, all the income, and then you've got assets, and then you've got liabilities. Now, stick your hand up on here, send me some love, but give me a thumbs up if you understand, really, really understand assets and liabilities. Some of you may, and some of you may not, and understand what is an asset and what is a liability. So I'm going to assume, and I'm going to talk to you about that anyway, because you've got income and expenditure, assets and liabilities. A liability is something that just costs you money. And an asset is something that earns you money. It is as simple as that when it comes to looking at assets as liabilities. And we have a huge misconception in this country about assets and liabilities. And many, many, many of us think that our home is an asset. And in actual fact, it's the biggest liability that you will ever have in your life. Now, I have touched on this before. I'm going to touch on it in some detail tonight, and I want you to think about this. So your home, everybody thinks it's an asset, that it's going to make them money one day. Okay, it's only an asset if it earns you money. It's not an asset if one day in the future it may be worth something. So your home is your liability. It's the biggest monthly payment you will have if you are purchasing your home. If you are paying rent, it's not a liability because somebody else is responsible for that asset and its maintenance and its costs. All you're doing is paying rent for somebody else to maintain it. So there are some times where a home that you own or a property that you own is an asset, and that's if it's a buy-to-let or you have a property portfolio where in actual fact you've purchased those homes and you are making money on them. That becomes an asset then. But for your family home, and I'm going to use some very simple sums here, okay? Think about it like this, and I do want you to think about it. You have bought your home for £100,000. You have a mortgage over 25 years. You are paying £500 a month over 25 years. You're going to pay back £150,000 for something that was worth £100,000. In 25 years, that property might be worth £200,000. So you think you've made £50,000 on it. However, if you costed out the repairs that you've had to make on that property and the money that you've had to spend in decorating it and changing flooring and kitchens and bathrooms over the 25 years, I bet that would exceed, I'm going to guess it was exceed 200,000. So actually, you've not made any money on it. And you still haven't made any money on it because you've still got to live somewhere. So even if you said, right, I've paid my mortgage off and got this house that's now worth £200,000, if you sell it, you've still got to live somewhere. So at what point does it become an asset? So if you saved £500 a month for 25 years with basic ISA rate interest and compound interest, you would have £160,000 minimum asset. Whereas if you sold the house, you might get the money for it, but you'd still have to buy something else and you've not had to maintain anything. And you could have been paying rent in that time. That's how the difference between a liability and an asset. We're under the misconception in this country that a house is a huge asset. It's only an asset when you die and you leave it for your kids and they've got it free. It is your biggest liability. However, it can work for you. You know, most people do it in this country and it can work as a long-term asset. And it's a playing for the long game asset. And it may be that it triples in price and you're very, very lucky, or you got into the property market at the right time and you make a killing on it. But you only make a killing on it if you sell it and buy another one and still have some money that you then make work for you. So it's thinking about assets. So there's two things on your plan there, is what are your assets and liabilities and what are your income and outgoings. Living small starts with thinking about those few things. Now, as I said at the start, not everybody really understands that. So where do you find the information on that that doesn't cost you a fortune? Okay, so there's loads of ways to get free financial advice. Most financial advisors will try and give you free financial advice, but they'll also try and sign you up to financial products because they earn commission on those very same financial products. Let's be realistic about it. Nobody works for nothing. But no financial advisors work for nothing. Nobody works for nothing. So you should be paying for the advice. However, it can pay you dividends. So when you live small and plan big, it's about getting to grip with where you are now. What do you have? All right. Now, I understood that very, very clearly. I understood it because I had a history of working in business and financial services. So I understood that I needed to grill my costs down to an absolute minimum. And when you're looking at your costs and how much it costs you to live, it's amazing what sort of savings you can make and what sort of, particularly these days, what sort of apps and websites and things are out there that can save you loads and loads of money. I became this really, really penny pinching, Scrooge-like person who would look at absolutely everything and say, can I earn money from that? How can I turn that into an asset for me? And what I actually did, and people have laughed at this, I became an expert at living small and keeping my costs to an absolute minimum. And I got really excited if I could save some money. But I didn't just save the money and then spend it on something. I saved the money and invested it into something that was then going to be an asset for me. Okay, so assets, we've covered liabilities and how your house isn't an asset, it's a liability. An asset, very clearly, is something that makes money for you. So what makes money for you? Savings and investments. I'm definitely spending my kids' inheritance, Eleanor says there. Thank you, Eleanor. Thanks for that. Great idea. An asset is something that makes money for you. So what makes money for you? So savings and investments, if you put them in the right place and in the right product, make money for you. But there's a difference. Okay, so if you open an ISA at Barclays right now, a cash ISA, you'll get 0.5% interest. If you invest 50 to £100 a month into a stocks and shares ISA, you'll get 2.5% interest. Now, that is a huge difference in the amount of money your asset can make if you put it in the right product. But you need advice on that, because there'll be loads of people trying to get you to open those products. What are the things that make the most money for you with very little input into them? Well, they're the long-term savings, not your house. Forget your house. All right, forget your house. What about the long-term savings? So I started to look, and I knew 10 years ago I didn't know enough about this. So one of the things that I invested in, and I covered this last week, was me and my knowledge. I did not know enough about pensions or savings, so I spent time, and it's not something that came quickly. It took me a couple of years to really understand how I could invest money and make money. Okay, so what I did was looked at, okay, I've got a pension scheme, and I'm going to cover this in detail in a few weeks' time, where I start looking at playing for the long game. And the pension was a big thing for me. Many people have pensions that they don't even know about, believe me. I knew about mine because I'd had some highly paid jobs and, company pension schemes. So I looked into what can I do with company pension schemes. I had 3. And I had a private pension scheme that I'd been reimbursed and misadvised into. I didn't know what to do with any of them, didn't know what they were worth, didn't know what they were earning, didn't really understand the statements. So that became point number 1 for me. Educate yourself, Mandy, in what this means. So what is a pension? A pension is basically a really long-term savings plan where you invest money into global commodities, stocks and shares. And if you've got a really, really good pension manager, they do that for you and they communicate well with you. So that was my mission I was going to find out about. And then what about other savings products? So that's number 1, and people don't know about this. And it's really important when you're looking at a holistic life to really understand these things, because it's no use living small and living on a really small budget and trying to save your money and putting it in the bank or under the mattress and not doing anything with it. You've got to turn that money into an asset. And I mean, guys, I started out with, okay, I've got a spare £30 a month. What can I do with £30 a month? And then over time, that £30 turned into £300. And then over time, that £300 turned into £500. And the more I got, the more decisions I made on the right savings products to be able to put that money in to make money for me in the long term, because nothing gives you a quick fix. So top tips: know where you are. Yeah, just to recap, know where you are now. Be an expert in yourself and your life and your costs, and what is unnecessary, bin it. If you don't need it, don't pay for it, don't buy it. Be really strict with yourself. You need some discipline in this area if you're ever going to be able to move forward. And remember, if I had an extra £30 a month, £10 went into the business, £10 went into savings, and £10 went into my own personal development, because that's how I spread my money out. I was investing not only into financial products, I was investing in me, and I was investing in my business so that I could move all of them. Because guess what's one of the biggest assets that you can have in your life? Your business and you. So you are an asset. Your business is an asset. Your house is not. I'm going to keep saying that. There are hidden assets, and I'm going to cover those as well. Hidden assets like your network. Your network is like a little treasure chest there that you can open and tap into anytime you want. And there will be people within your network that you could have a phone call with, conversation with, that could completely give you a moment of epiphany and change the course of your life, because they will know something that you do not. Now, that happened to me, and that's where we're going back to finances now. I had people in my life who knew lots more than I did about financial services and financial products and pensions. In fact, I've been sitting next to one of them at dance lessons, which is one of my liabilities, I have to say, for 15 years, at dance lessons with both our daughters. And my daughter's best friend's father was a financial advisor. So, you know what? I started changing the course of the conversations that we had at dance classes and talking about financial products. And it turns out that this person could help me. So your network is a huge asset for you in turning around your perception of how you see things. So becoming an expert in whatever it is that's holding you back, so learning to live small and becoming an expert in how you can change that, will change your life. And this is how I learned to live big and make big changes. Okay, so would it surprise you if I said to you that the one thing I had when I lived in my little castle by the sea with my Suzuki Swift, the one asset I have that I could do anything with was my pensions? And I took 3 company pensions and the private pension and employed or took on a pension specialist. And I said, how can I turn that into something bigger? And they got a quote from all of the pension providers, and that pension, hi Tom, just talking about pensions, that's useful, isn't it? I'm talking about you. That the pensions that I had were worth around £230,000, okay? Because I was a senior manager and I've been paying into them for many years. So I couldn't touch them. I was 44. Couldn't touch them till, you know, at that point, till into your 60s. I didn't know you were going to be able to tap into them at 55 at that point. But who you are with in terms of your pension schemes, who manages it for you, how you're managing that, and the return that you get on it is very dependent on who you get to manage those funds for you. So I learned very quickly that that asset that I had in the long term could work for me. And I'm going to give you more detail on that. And in, I think it's about episode 9, where I talk about playing for the long game. All right. I also learned that if my pension was going to be something that I could work with, then surely I should have pensions for both my children. And eventually, again, after a couple of years of learning about this area of the business and learning about this thing I didn't know about and becoming an expert, both of my children have pensions. They've had pensions since they were 14, because I don't want them to have this problem in 60 years' time or 50 years' time. I started saving and putting a small amount into those pensions. So I had that little bit of extra income and an extra left over at the end of the month. I pretended I didn't have it and put it into something that was a long-term asset. What I am going to say to you is, you also, when you have to have, what you've got to do is understand that it's all about numbers. Everything in your life is all about numbers. And if you avoid numbers and avoid this side of life, you will not be able to make things work for you. Everything is about numbers. So if you have a business and you know that your costs on a monthly basis, let's say, for example, your costs on a monthly basis at £1,500, that you all wish it was, £1,500 it's going to cost you to live. You know then you will need a minimum income after tax of £1,500 just to break even. So we'd all like a little bit more than that. So you're going to set yourself, so your first thing is to have a plan and set yourself a target. My costs are this as a basic level. I need to earn this either in a job or in my own business. How am I going to do it? How many hours do I need to do that? How many products do I need to sell? At what price? It's about crunching the numbers. There's no way to avoid it. There's no way around it. That is your very first starting point. So it's all about numbers. So if you're in business and you want to earn £2,000 a month and you sell a product for £1, and you make, sorry, if you sell a product for £2 and you make £1 profit on it, you're going to have to sell 2,000 products a month. Simple as that. It's all about numbers. You've got to know. You've got to know your numbers, and it funnels down from there. But there are also some don'ts. The strategy around really understanding and becoming an expert is important, but there are also some don'ts, and I'm going to give you some big don'ts here before I try and finish. This could have gone, like, this feels like 5 minutes, guys. It could have gone on for hours here. I don't know whether you're going to listen to me for hours. Don't be conned by some sales pitch, guys. Salesmen are really, really good at using emotions to get you to buy, and they will negate the arguments that you come up with against buying, and they're very, very good at that. Don't be conned. Always say, I need time to think about this. Do not, Tom's going to hate me for this, but don't close if you're not sure. Don't sign up for something if you're not sure. Make sure you are sure and you know who you're dealing with. Do not be conned. There are no get-rich-quick schemes, guys. There is nothing out there that's going to give you quick money without some sort of comeback or detrimental impact. And there are no I can change your life promises that are 100% solid. Your job, if you want to live small, think big, and change your income and change your incomings, is to become an expert in the things you do not know. Your biggest asset in doing that, before you even start when paying anybody or looking elsewhere, is the network you currently have. Start asking questions. Goodness me, that's run over a minute already. I hope that that has been of some use, and believe me, there are a few more weeks, because next week is week 6. This has gone back past in seconds, and in week 6, I keep picking up bits of paper and putting them down here to just keep them in my hand. Week 6 is about accepting that this will take time, being open to everything and not judging. So although, you know, this has seemed quite quick to me, and I've said, you know, living within your means, really, really important, it's going to take time, because you can't become an expert overnight. Otherwise, we would be all experts and we wouldn't need anybody else. So next week, we're going to talk about how you then seek out that expertise, who you go to, how you do it, and my top tips on that. Thank you all so much for being here and watching. Share it if you think this will be beneficial to somebody else that you think might need some help or appreciate the advice. And, you know, tell your friends to join and watch me on a weekly basis to get the rest of these lives, because they are going to be of some benefit to at least some of you. Great to have you here. Hope you have an excellent evening. It's Holby time. Bye for now.